Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom!
How to use the Car9. Does it have any special benefits or hidden features? Why you should use the Car9 and so much more. Today we're going to break down all this and more with an in-depth guide and look at one of the original PUBG Mobile bolties, the Car98K. Now this is obviously a real-world weapon, and it's a weapon that was absolutely ubiquitous. That means it was everywhere. It was a gun that was designed for the German army, and then there was millions of them released after the end of World War II out into the universe. So they kept popping back up all over the place anytime someone felt like getting up and getting ready for rumbling, and they needed a bolt-action rifle. It's been in a bunch of games, and it's one of the reasons why I loved PUBG Mobile right at the start, was I got to use the Car98K. It's a storied weapon, and it's a weapon that I've enjoyed in games such as Day of Defeat and a bunch of other shooters. But how does it perform in PUBG Mobile? Well, there's some stuff about the Car9 that you probably don't know. I'm going to show you a few things, but first and foremost, it's one of the fastest reloading bolt-action rifles in PUBG Mobile. If you're talking about pure power like the AWM, it's amazingly powerful. It's much stronger with its base damage than the Car98K. Its headshot does a whopping 220 versus the 197 of the Car9, which means it clears level 3 helmets. But if you're talking about just getting shots out, well, the Car9 kills it. It takes 9.43 seconds to go 5 shots with the AWM. It takes 6.3 seconds to go 5 shots with the Car9. And in situations like this, when you need 2 shots to hit really quickly, the Car9 clears it. Watch this. This is another one where we snap really, really fast. That's because it takes about 1.2 seconds to reload a Car9 as opposed to, I think it's 1.8. 1.8 seconds it takes to reload an AWM. Might not seem like a lot, but there are obviously situations where that's really, really important. So that's a great positive thing for the Car9 and something that a lot of people do not realize. Another thing that a lot of people don't know about, but it upsets them, is that it's got such a low bullet speed. The Car9 was the first bolt-action rifle that was world dropped, because the M24 was in fact in a crate when PUBG Mobile started. And despite many, many buffs, it's never been changed, that order of service. The M24 is still a better stats rifle than the Car9. And that starts with the bullet speed. At sub 800 meters a second, the Car9 is the only bolt-action rifle that is lower than 800. The Mosin is at 810. The M24 is at 810. The DSR is 943. And the AWM is 937 meters a second. What that means is that it's slower to get to the target. Now, that's not a big deal if you're an old timer, because if you're like me, the Car9 is the rifle you got used to firing. So a lot of people complain to me that the DSR felt like it had really low bullet speed. And it wasn't that it had really low bullet speed at all. It's that it had such high bullet speed that people were leading the target by too much. They were leading at the same kind of distance you lead a Car9, and the bullet was getting there too early. And I think a lot of people feel more comfortable with the bullet speed on the Car9 than they do with just about any other weapon. If you're a spray and pray guy, you love an M4, that's your jam. No one's arguing with about that. But once you get your... Oh, this is something else. People forget that rounds from bolt-action rifles go through targets and hit targets behind. You can see I hit both the targets there, and that's no exception for the Car9. Of course, AMRs go through cars as well, but that's an AMR. It's a world drop weapon. No, it's a crate weapon. It's hard to put into words just how much this weapon means to me in the game. Imagine, if you will, that you've been playing for years and years and years, and that you've had shots, like literal shots that you remember hitting that was so crazy, like the time I shot someone out of a boat by hitting 2 headshots in a row off the Wizard Tower, right next to fuel station at the bridge to Millbase. There's so many moments. The time I shot the guy on Miramar as he was 400 meters away in a buggy heading to San Martin. The Car 98 is with me like that. It's just got this massive, massive imprint on my PUBG Mobile journey. And because of that, I use it so much. And you can see from all these clips, like these are obviously good clears. And the other thing you can tell, unfortunately, is you got to get real good at hitting headshots. Because if you're not hitting headshots with the Car 9 or even the Mosin or the M24, you're not going to clear targets. It is a wonderful weapon because of the bolt action speed to use with a Mini 14. The Mini 14 is incredible all on its own. And I just did a video on the Mini. I think it could be the best non-crate weapon in PUBG Mobile. But when you pair it with a Car 9, it's nearly unbeatable. Because what the Mini does is solid alpha damage fast. What the Car 9 does is big alpha damage fast. So you end up with this situation where you'll hit shots with the Car 9 and it might not be a perfect headshot, but all your partner, like for me, it's usually McDingling or Barry, all they have to do is reach out and touch them. You can hear the Mini banging away right next to me there. Reach out and touch them a little bit with the Mini 14 and they fall over. And it's kind of a force multiplier. If you're a duo versus squad particularly, you run the big alpha bolting like a Car 9, and then you have the high volume, solid mid-alpha range strike of a Mini 14 paired with it. Well, then both weapons really work better than they would, you know, just as a duo, doubling each other. It doesn't hurt either for me that this Car 9 was the first skin I ever picked up that had the ability to purchase scopes or purchase attachments. And this skin that I'm using now for the Car 9 is a skin that I've been using forever. And it is one of the best skins in the game, in my opinion. And if your Car 9 looks good and you're used to the bullet speed on the Car 9 and you love snapping off shots quickly one after another, then it just could be that the Car 9 is the weapon for you. In fact, I have a problem. I have a problem in that I just have a couple of guns that I love so much, and they are particularly not popular with the player base. I mean, you see Car 9s out in the battlefield, don't get me wrong, but most people will run an M416 if we're being honest. And they'll run a UMP or a DBS as their primary. This is just facts. This is life. My favorite primary is the Mark 14. And my favorite secondary is a bolt action. And if I had to pick one, it's probably going to be the Car 9 because of all the reasons I mentioned before. And there is something to be said with taking the time to learn the nuance and the artistry that is a sniper fight. Knowing when you can tank damage. Knowing the kind of lead time you need for a running target at a certain range. Knowing if in fact you just need to hit a shot, not a headshot. It's all this kind of stuff that works for me and makes the game more fun. Don't jump when you're getting sniped. Like, there is no better. Oh, this is great. Like, as they run through an area, hitting them blind. It's this kind of stuff that brings me back to PUBG Mobile. And you are in a meta where people do not understand. Like, they go whole games where all they have to deal with is people spamming M416s. And then you run in and start using a bolt action rifle at 100 meters or 75 meters. And they don't deal with it that well. They don't expect they have to worry about it until you start spraying. And you're not going to start spraying because what you do is drop huge, massive headshots on people. Like this. This is a very close range engagement. I know he's already been hit once, so I just know I have to tap him. This is extraordinarily long range. This is where you've got to get used to your bullet speed and your bullet drop. And you can hear McDingling has a bolty as well here. I prefer it when we're running Bolty Mini 14, but I can't have all the fun. And we're going to be doing a video on the M24 in not too long. You won't have to lead or worry about bullet drop as much with other bolt action rifles. The Car9 has a fair chunk of bullet drop, so take that into account. Anyway, I'm Pushka. Look after yourselves. Stay safe on the battlefield. Remember to like the videos and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this Car9 in-depth review.